Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Town Hall. Once again, this is a podcast that features a lot of MTG creators, but it's not about Magic the Gathering. So, if you want to hear more about your favorite creators, then enjoy. All right. Hello, John. Welcome to the Town Hall, the official Sodium City Town Hall. My name is Striderstone, as most people know. At least I hope most people know. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as the Jonathan who enjoys video games?
I do. I'm JohnLikesGames, and darn it, I'm really happy to be here. Folks, you should know, Strider puts on this gruff exterior, but I wanna make it very clear. When I was still just a little guy, very few viewers and all that stuff, Strider actively sought to network. He is secretly a wholesome person. I just want to put that out there to all you constituents.
Unbelievable. It's actually really nice to see a lot of people that either I rated really early on or put in like the top 10 videos really early on in their like streaming career or whatever, and then watch them go all the way to partner, because there's a lot of people that it seems like they've just grown a lot. And it's definitely not necessarily because of me in any way. I might have just given them like a little bit of an opportunity, because if I raid somebody with like 100 people, they have that moment to get a bunch of viewers or get a bunch of followers. And if you take advantage of it, then people will start coming back, and then I will also raid you more consistently, right? It's just that
for sure.
It's that easy, because people on my stream say, hey, you rated this person before, raid them again. Or, hey, I really like the person that you rated the other day, thank you, or something like that. And that's how I gauge who I'm gonna raid going forward. And so like once every few weeks, I'll just go through the Magic directory and go to the very far down, like very bottom, and just look for somebody who has a microphone and a camera. If they have both of those, we pull them up on stream. We're like, all right, we'll give them 5 to 10 seconds to reply to a message. If I say, hello, how's it going? And they don't say anything for 5-10 seconds, I leave the stream and I find another person. And then we do that until, we find somebody, and then we raid them. You were one of the people that I think you replied within like 3 seconds. You replied very, very quickly. And so right when I said that, I was like, oh, this guy's dressed. He replies super quickly. He's got a microphone. I was like, this guy is easily going to go up there. And I knew it from the first raid that I did for you that it was going places. So it's really nice to see you work as hard as you have and get to where you are now. So it'll get better for sure, especially if you are able to spend more time. That's the hardest thing. It's time.
It really is. It really is. So I'm currently sloughing off my day job. You know how that is, right? And so when you have to juggle the day job and the content creation, like you can't give 100% in two different areas. Like as much as you might hang a picture on the wall that talks about going to 110% while you're in the gym or whatever. That's just not true. You literally get 100%.
Yeah.
So if you are giving, 80% here, that's a lot. Yeah. That means you're giving 20% elsewhere. And that, to be honest, like I love content creation, and I'm not going to be quitting anytime soon. I've always wanted to be an entertainer, but it doesn't come without a cost, right? I've had literally one of my best friends in the world recently pop into the chat, and my wife was just joking around about, letting me come out to play with the friends every now and then or something. And he's like, yeah, friend? Because I don't blame him. I've completely abandoned almost all my real life relationships in pursuit of this stream.
Welcome to content creation, my guy. Welcome to content creation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's brutal. I think unless you kind of pick up some IRL stuff on the side that you may be able to do with your friends, but even then you're still doing content creation, and you're like, your friends may still be like, come on. But when my friends were like, hey, it's my birthday, come out. And then I'm like, dude, that's the exact day I stream. And it sucks because I'm like, I never miss streams ever. And I'm like, okay, well, like cut it short and we'll go out or whatever. And they're like, dude, just stream it, just live stream. I was like, I don't have the setup for that. I didn't even think about it. But now that
Right.
I know that my friends are cool with it, and some of my friends have been on stream, I'm like, I mean, it's nice to have that option or the capability of being there. That and my friends are typically more entertaining than I am, so they're just they they make way more money than anybody. Well, maybe not anybody. They make way more money doing their real job than they would streaming.
Sure.
But they would be great streamers, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the concern is I actually when I first started, which is approaching ancient history now, whatever, like 3 years ago, we're coming up on my 3-year anniversary.
Ooh.
Trying to find my voice, and it was kind of a long time coming. Because I knew what I wanted to do since I was young. I wanted to entertain, but like it felt like every single niche is full. You know what I mean? And so I, like a lot of people, I tried having a Discord full of friends and we would chat and all that kind of stuff. But you just run into people with varying levels of commitment, even among your real life friends who care about you in real life. They're not committed to being entertaining, right? They're committed to having a good time, which can be synonymous, but it is not exclusively synonymous.
True.
When you try and get somebody to fix their mic or something, like I'm not asking for perfection. I never did. But, when you got that proverbial person breathing into the mic, it's like, is this Darth Vader? It's hard. And I'll be honest, like I love my friends a lot, but none of them were really willing to commit to let's make this thing better. And in fairness, I felt bad asking them to do that. So I ended up leaving the Discord, like not leaving it. I'm still technically a part of the Discord server, but it's
Yeah.
I it's not like I can stream it. It's different.
Yeah.
So it's tough. But
I think Audine ran into the same kind of issue because I think him and his group of friends, the whole A tag, the AAH or AHH, I think there was a bunch of people because there was Matt and there was I don't know, there's a bunch of people, but
sure.
they were doing a YouTube channel together and they were doing other games. And then when Dean applied for partnership, they looked at the YouTube channel and was like, "Oh, hey, this isn't your own like your YouTube channel. It's a group, so we're not gonna give you credit for it, I guess." So he got denied partnership for that, and so he's like, "Okay, I have to make this channel my own for a little bit." And it seemed like it kind of it didn't dissolve the friendship because they're always still there. Um, and I don't know if the YouTube channel is back to what it used to be, but it's just it's weird. But also it's impossible to rely on people in this space. Regardless of if it is another content creator, it is impossible. It is actually impossible.
And I 100% agree. And for what it's worth, I mean, especially when you look at some of the OG creators from like way back in the day, essentially a lot of them were just able to fire up the stream and play games. What kind of life is this? This is the dream. This is what all of us want. Just, sit there, pick your nose and play games and bring home millions. Like, of course we all want that. But it's just not realistic in the space anymore. So when you have these people with that still caught in their head, I've been watching Twitch for 10 years. I can do this. And they fire up the stream. There's this disconnect of expectations. And especially when those expectations aren't met, it can lead to hurt feelings and hard times. And, people just, people deal that differently,
Yeah, because I remember when I was starting, where I was like, hey, what are the best things to do when you start streaming? One of the first things everyone said was have a schedule and stick to the schedule. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying. It was back in the day, people would just start the stream and they would go. But they were there the same time every single day. They would start it and go, start it and go. And so you could always just rely on those people. But now it's like, even if you start on the same exact time every single day, there's so much variety of people. A lot of people start changing their schedules, and then it starts overlapping with your schedule, and then some people prefer that person over yours. So if you're on the same exact schedule as somebody, but that person is like, more famous or better, just regardless, and then they switch their schedule to be like 1 or 2 hours before you, a lot of your viewers, if you have shared viewers, they'll start watching an hour or two earlier, or they just won't watch your stream anymore, because they'll just stay on that one stream. Because getting anybody to click on something to do any type of extra interaction, that's the hardest thing you can do.
For sure. And just getting people to touch the stream, and I'm not even talking about being a subscriber or whatever. Like, I'm just literally just follow.
Yeah.
It's free. It doesn't hurt you or affect you. But like, just that extra action is ridiculous, very, very challenging.
Yeah, you have to earn it for sure. And that's one of the things that kills me when I see follower only mode on. When I see follower only mode on, I refuse. I refuse to raid those people. Doesn't matter who it is. Like, that's why one of the main reasons I've never raided Hoogland, because he always has follower only mode, but only when it's magic. And I understand why he has it. There's a lot of people that I completely understand why they have follower only mode. There's obviously exceptions, but there's a lot of times where there is no actual reason, or they think there's a reason because of what has been put out there in the ether. And I'm like, you need to remove this. Like, when Lil Bo Peaches first started, I was like, you need to take off follower only mode right now. And she's like, why? Sure. And I was like, you have to do it right now. And so she removed it, and everything seemed fine. And now she's partner. And so it's like she hit partner in 8 months, 9 months, 9 months, something like that.
That's a crazy pace. Yeah.
Yeah. She went actually crazy. But there's some things you just don't want to do, and that's one of them. Well, unless you absolutely have to, don't do it.
And I think to a certain extent, like, it makes sense for some of the big creators. So when you pop into whoever, Soda Poppin' or something, like, these are big time names. Well, okay, they don't need you in chat. They really don't. And so
I don't even think they have follower only mode on, though.
Oftentimes they don't, but I'm just saying, like, it makes sense for them just to try and get their metrics up, or whatever, because they can advertise that to sponsors or whatever. And you literally becoming a follower and never coming back is worth just as much to them, because their numbers are already there. Just having more followers makes more sense. That's just not the case for you. I know a lot of people will put it on because of hate raids and, people coming into flame and stuff. The problem is that doesn't really stop committed, like, jerks. Like, if you're going to be a jerk on the internet, they can literally just follow as well.
Yeah, but if you're getting a hate raid, you just put it in follower only mode and say you have to be a follower for 10 minutes. But you don't always leave your stream in follower only mode, because you're excluding a ton of people, like 95% of the people. Because I can't even tell you how many streams I've gone into that has follower only mode that I just instantly leave.
Yeah.
And then I refuse to raid anybody that has follower only mode, because that is the definition of privilege. It's like, you expect people to go to your stream and click follow before they even have the opportunity to have a conversation with you, before they say, hey, how's it going? Or, hey, because if somebody doesn't reply to me within 10, 15, 20 seconds, depending on the size of the streamer, I'll leave the stream too. But I'm not going to click follow and give you that number before I find out if you're worthy of that follow.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. And I think a lot of people don't realize, okay, if we're talking about 5 years ago Twitch, well, there weren't a lot of protections for this stuff. But there are literally modes where it's funny, because I actually had someone out themselves as a potential troll or whatever, because they called me out as one of those selfish streamers who makes you verify your account before you can chat. Oh, no. I have unverified accounts need to have existed for at least 24 hours in order to be able to chat. That's a setting you can set in Twitch.
Yeah.
The only thing this does is prevent people from creating an account that's unverified, so they can't be traced, and then coming in and flaming your chat.
Yeah.
If you have an unverified account for longer than 24 hours, you can chat in my chat. I have no other settings set. So this person literally just admitted to me and didn't know it that I tried to create an account and flame you, and I couldn't.
But
you know,
so if somebody goes to twitch.tv/JohnLikesGames, links in the description below. As long as their account has been active for 24 hours, they can say hello in a very nice
100%.
way. To be fair, all right, this podcast is not typically user-friendly. None of my channels are user-friendly, but John's is user-friendly. It's very family-friendly. Just be nice. It's a very positive vibes. It's very jank-tastic if you like jank, but it's always upbeat. Everyone in there is super, super nice. There's not really any swearing. There's nothing like that's going on. So treat it as such. Just let me say that up front before anybody goes in there and says, hey, 420 blitz, or like any crazy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we're pretty easygoing as well. And I don't, you know, I also, like on a personal level, I certainly don't fault anybody for having a vocabulary, you know, that just is, you know, in whatever way. I just, to be flatly honest, I recognize that it's an underserved market. As someone, you know, my day job, I actually do childcare. So I recognized there was a whole bunch of Twitch streams I simply could not spectate on a, you know, even a casual level unless I had headphones on, which again, impractical when you're watching children. They want that silence. They want you to not be paying close attention, right? So I just couldn't watch because, you know, of foul language and stuff. So it's not even necessarily about me personally. It's about, well, okay, I recognize if I am this way, there will be some number of other people who are also this way, and it's an underserved market. So, you know, I think it's practical, you know.
Have you checked your age demographic on your stats at all?
Yeah.
What's it look like?
Almost exclusively 26 to 42, like almost exclusively in that ballpark, both male and female. But
what's your breakdown of male female?
I don't know. I would have to look.
Yeah, I would have to look too. I don't even know.
I know when I first got started, it was exclusively male for a period of time, but it got a lot better once I got in the suit, I guess. I don't know if that correlates or not. There could be causation or correlation there. I'm not entirely sure, but
yeah, there could be a little bit maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. But
yeah. Though admittedly, I guess I'm getting most of my data from YouTube now from memory. I'm not sure if I've ever checked on my Twitch demographics.
Twitch doesn't have a lot of information. I wish they had more stats, but
100%.
I don't know if they have the capability of getting that many stats. YouTube's been around for so long, it's actually ridiculous. And they've built their entire platform based on, you know, ads and marketing and stuff like that. But Amazon, on the other hand, is all based on products and selling and technology. So they're completely removed from that whole ad and marketing thing. And so Twitch is kind of like a brand new thing. Not only is it streaming, which they had no real experience in, but it's also just they're not used to like pushing ads or knowing how to advertise it and stuff. So they seem to be getting better, like the new ad system. Have you taken a look at that?
I have. I still haven't run ads. Like, if any of my viewers are out there, you know, it's coming, folks.
It has to come. Dude, it's actually ridiculous. I don't. Do you share any of your monetary stuff with anybody? I don't know how secretive you are.
Yeah, I'm not shy about that. Okay. To be honest, I'm not sure. I could be autistic. I don't know. Like, I know there's so many things in life where people get their nose out of joint about it, and they're just like, they get super freaked out about this stuff. But like, man, I don't care. Oh, wait, wow, you're making $50,000 a year more than me? That's awesome. Congratulations. It does not bother me. Oh, I'm making way more than you? That doesn't bother me either. Maybe that means I'll buy next time we go out to dinner. Maybe that's what that means. But like, I don't suddenly think, oh, wow, I guess I'm better than you. Or that's not a, I don't. So exactly. None of this stuff, it never made sense to me to be worried about telling people how much I make. I don't know.
Yeah, because I've been running the new ad thing for about a month now, and it's ridiculous. Because usually the previous period, the previous like ad or breakdown period, I made $17 from ads. It was like 17 something, right? It's not a lot. That's for an entire month of streaming. $17. Like if you put all that on YouTube, it would have been ridiculous, right? This month I made 180, which is
wow.
It's quite a big difference. It's like 10-time increase.
Wow.
Yeah, so I highly recommend taking advantage of that new ad system. And then you can also, pitch the Twitch Prime if you really want to. It depends on how funny you want to be. Because every once in a while, people are like, "Oh my God, 4 ads? Are you kidding me right now?" And then I'll usually just type in Twitch Prime, or I'll say or something like that. Every once in a while, you get like 1 or 2 extra primes, but if not, you get a couple ads out of it, and it's fine. But I highly recommend doing it because it's actually worth it now. It wasn't worth it to run ads before. It really wasn't. It wasn't worth the inconvenience for anybody to run the ads. But now it is legitimately beneficial.
Sure. So. Well, and that's again, folks. I'm certainly not trying to flex or anything like that. But honestly, again, I want to be an entertainer. We talked about the whole only giving 100% thing because that's all the time you got. Well, the longer I keep my full-time job, the less, I can devote to the stream and content creation in general and things, right? So, I have up to this point avoided ads just for, again, like you say, it's not worth it for the inconvenience and stuff. But at some point, I'm gonna have to do it just to freaking, be able to make that next leap and buy myself some more time. Is what it is.
Yeah, which is it's all that really matters. If you could put more time into it, it's going to increase in value.
Yeah, agreed.
That's just the reality of the situation, and it's based on how you convey that to your loyal viewers. I don't know if I've sent you the research paper on the 1,000 true fans, or if you've already read it before.
I have not. This is the first I've ever heard of it.
All right. So 1,000 True Fans is a really, really interesting article. That I think they call it a book, but it's probably a 10-minute read, maybe. It's not necessarily. I'll DM it to you on the Discord.
Awesome.
But it's essentially it just talks about if you have 1,000 true fans, that is the ideal situation. So if you have 100,000 viewers being, across YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, everything, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. The only people that technically really matter are the 1,000 true fans. If those 1,000 people give you $100 a year, so it's like, $10 a month, a little bit less, then you're making $100,000 a year. Pre-taxes, obviously. But
sure,
that's essentially all you need to survive.
Sure.
Like you're in a really good position if you have 1,000 true fans, because then of course you have all the other people that are just there to support. You have the ad system, you have all that stuff, so you'll probably get $100,000, most likely more after taxes. But the main goal is to get the 1,000 true fans, in my opinion.
Oh, that's fantastic. I would like to give that a read because, again, I actually spend a fair amount of time when I'm using the Gentleman's Room on our Twitch, helping out new streamers and stuff like that. All those people like we were talking about that come in.
Oh,
wait,
no.
I can't just flip on the stream and make $10 million or whatever. Like, no, like you're gonna have to put in work and stuff like that. But that's definitely a tenet that I've talked about. Like, you don't need a bunch of viewers. Having 200 viewers does not mean anything.
Correct.
Like not really.
Yeah.
You want fans, which means you can go out of your way to make a fan and it's still worth it long term.
Oh, yeah.
Just one viewer at a time. So these people are like, yeah, I mean, I'll have 0 to 3 viewers my whole stream. Okay. But you know what that means? You had one or two or three people you could have impressed. If you could turn one or two or three of those people into like someone that wants to come back and then eventually into a fan, that's how you build an audience. Everyone starts at zero. Everyone. Like, and and again, I'm not flaming anyone at all, but like Hunter Pence, literally, a bona fide superstar. It's not like he just started on Twitch and has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of viewers. He averaged like 75 viewers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's, in Hall of Fame contention. And it's not just given to him. Jason Dolly streams on Twitch. He starred in Disney Channel, like, Minutemen. He actually had the lead role in a movie. He was in a whole bunch of their, the shows that were kind of targeted at teenagers, young teens and stuff at the time, which of course are now adults and would be watching Twitch. Averaged about 90 viewers. Like, I mean,
yeah,
maybe not Tom Cruise famous, but recognized at Walmart famous.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just dropped in his lap either.
Yeah,
right?
You have to be a legitimately good entertainer outside of stuff being scripted.
Exactly.
Because then you have people like T-Pain. T-Pain wouldn't have a lot of viewers. T-Pain started with, his first stream was a lot of viewers, and then it kind of trickled down. But now he does so many extra things, so many other like events. He does, reviews. He does all these really cool things, and he's super entertaining. He'll do live freestyles, tell you how to write songs, and he does all this. He gives so much value to everyone watching that people want to come back to watch him, not necessarily because he's entertaining, but also because he provides so much value.
100% agreed.
That's how you get to the next level. You can be very entertaining. That's good. But the added value, the actual value that you get, that helps a lot.
Yeah. And then just honestly, to a certain extent, it's just about getting enough people to come back for long enough that, you creep up in the categories, things like that. Once you get enough of eyeballs on your content, I don't care what you're doing, you're basket weaving or something. People are weird. Whatever it is, there are people that want to watch this.
Yeah.
There's Mary's Milk Monsters, another Twitch channel. She literally
that sounds like a porn channel.
She takes care of goats. Literally takes care of goats on stream. You can pay like $10 and give a goat an apple, but she makes it entertaining. And like, there are people, she averages like 200 viewers or whatever, because if it's out there, there are some number of people that want to watch it. It's finding the right people. It's finding your fans or whatever. So you gotta start at zero. You gotta.
Yeah. You also get the curiosity behind it too.
Yes, that's also true.
Which also definitely helps. It goes back to that niche situations of what's going on.
Yep. Agreed.
That's really interesting. Maybe I should get some goats. Kidding. Kidding. Definitely not. I don't want
just
any.
saying.
I don't want
maybe
any kind of animal. No animals. My roommate's dog is annoying enough.
Milk the dog?
She's aggressive. She's aggressive as hell. I can't even deal with it. I can't deal with it at all. But
fair enough.
Yeah. And so you're not going to TwitchCon, are you?
No, I am actually going to TwitchCon. Yeah.
So you're going to TwitchCon. Are you going to Magic 30?
I am not. I am going to Magic Summit, which is the following month. But see, the biggest problem is the scheduling. I understand that influencers, content creators, whatever label you want to put on us, are not priorities in Wizards of the Coast book. They don't they don't care too much about us, and certainly don't care about our conveniencing us in any way. But the problem is, like, they've got to know a large draw to any of their stuff is going to be people, like word of mouth and stuff. These content creators have a very large platform, many, again, larger than I. This is not just a selfish thing like, oh, they should have considered JohnLikesGames. No, like, Day 9, one of the OG original 32 streamers on Twitch. It's like, presumably he's going to be at TwitchCon. So unless he also sets aside time just a couple of weeks later, he's not going to be able to go to Magic 30. I don't see why this had to happen.
He can do anything he really wants to at this point. Anything that makes him happy or have a good time, he can pretty much do it.
Which, again, I mean, I agree. That's awesome. And particularly for day 9. But, for a lot of people that maybe are family oriented or something, like CGB with, a family and things like that, like just going to TwitchCon and then also going to Magic 30, that creates this conflict, and, just for, I have a life outside of Magic, that's difficult. And so again, if they had presented this information early enough, I may have chosen Magic 30 just because this is my space and things like that. But by the time
wasn't it announced a while ago?
It was, but not before TwitchCon.
Oh, so TwitchCon was like a year almost in advance, though, because they're a real company, right? I mean, I can't say this. Sorry, I can't say stuff like that with other people on the podcast. I have a lot to say about WotC, which I've gone full mask off at this point and just blasting them on Twitter. So at this point, it's down to them banning me or nothing else happening. But the chances of them banning me is essentially zero because they probably just have me muted on everything. But
probably. Yes. But like, it is frustrating to me because they, rather than creating a symbiotic relationship, they have elected to not do that. And again, if they had given me enough notice, I might have chosen Magic 30 anyway, despite the inconvenience. And I'm really excited about TwitchCon, and I'm going to be attending and everything. But like, the deal is, I also recognized the inherent urgency in the situation. So when they announced, okay, San Diego, these are the dates. Tickets not available or anything. My wife and I got flights and we got hotel rooms that day within the hour. So we could go to the convention center and all that kind of stuff, right? And then tickets went on sale later. Okay, in the interim period between TwitchCon announcing dates and Magic 30 announcing dates, I had already invested whatever, $1,500 or whatever it ended up being, when flights and rooms and all that stuff for the whole weekend, already ahead of time. So I was already committed. Now, admittedly, I could have done some refunding stuff and jumped through all those hoops, but why?
Yeah, is it really worth it at that point?
Yeah.
So the other thing that was weird, I felt like it was kind of the same situation, or people had this weird idea that the ticket prices for Magic 30 weren't necessarily out yet. And so people were trying to budget around Magic 30, but they couldn't because they didn't know how much the tickets were. But when I looked on their initial site, it was like 3 months ago, they said, oh yeah, ticket prices are going to start at $75. And then, we'll have VIP packages. And they just didn't release the price of the VIP packages, assuming they didn't know exactly what they were going to do with it. They set a baseline to like $75. And I thought that was good. I was like, okay, well, if people really needed to budget, people who were like, okay, I just need to know if I can afford to go. How much are the tickets for the weekend? How much are the tickets for a single day? They had all that. And so people were like, oh, I don't know if I can afford this. Can I afford this? I'm like, the base ticket is there. If you're worried about if you can afford it or not, you probably can't go at that point, or you probably shouldn't go unless you're like, okay, I can afford it if I get the $700 VIP ticket. But if I don't get that $700 VIP ticket, because I guess they sold out in like 5 minutes, then they don't want to go at all. Because I heard some people don't want to go at all because they didn't get that VIP ticket because they wanted all the extras. They're like, it's not worth it for me to invest all the money for plane tickets and hotel to not get all the other benefits. Just going wasn't enough for them. They wanted to get all the extra stuff that the VIP stuff. So it was like, it was a weird thing. Like, they wanted to budget, but some people, I don't know. I feel like it was just a lot of really weird things that happened. But
well, for what it's worth, I also think part of that's just the Magic community as a whole. And admittedly, I also know that part of it is confirmation bias, where it's easy to say like, oh, these people who don't like Walking Dead Secret Lair are out there buying up all this, Street Fighter Secret Lair or whatever, right? To pick apart two controversies. They're probably different groups, like it's just this one is vocal at this time and this one's vocal at this time. So you equate them because they're a part of the Magic community, but they're not necessarily the same. That said, I do think as a whole, the Magic community is prone to pitchforks at the stupidest things, like absolutely ridiculous. And I love a whole bunch of the, other content creators and all this kind of stuff, but I think some of them just really enjoy feeding it as well. Where it's like,
listen, I don't pitchfork that much. I don't. I pitchfork on a couple things. One of them is excluding people from the community. That's pretty much the only thing I really pitchfork people on. Oh, it's either that. I mean, I guess technically. So if somebody like, physically abuses or mentally abuses somebody, they're by proxy excluding that person because it makes that person not want to be part of the community. So I'll pitchfork like against that person. Or a lot of times I'll be the one spearheading it because for whatever reason, a lot of people tend to, I don't know if they trust my judgment or they trust what I do. Because kind of like what you said, I'm a sweetheart at the core or something. But I seem to fix a lot of things in the back end that a lot of people don't see. A lot of people don't hear. So I've made a few enemies that way, but not really.
Sure.
I've made.
I mean, you mod my channel, so I'm just saying.
I'm on a lot of channels, but yeah, I'm also, in tight with a lot of other mods in the other larger channels that I'm not a mod in, and we kind of collaborate and be like, okay, this person did something really shady, maybe not worth a ban. But can you check your channels to see if they actually did something? So should I keep an eye out for them, or was it just a bad day? So like we talk, we collaborate, and stuff like that. So it's nice to be in that position. And then obviously if, something bad happens, like if there is a physical assault or something like that, a lot of times people come to me and they're like, here's the DMs, here's the breakdown, here's what quote unquote actually happened if someone's trying to publicly defend themselves or publicly attack somebody else. That's kind of, a lot of times that's where I come in. That's where I'm like, okay, what is the actual problem? I have to get DMs from both people's sides, and then I try to resolve it in the background.
Yeah, but like, see, and for obviously a little gentle ribbing, but only because I love you, But like, I legitimately draw a line there between, keeping our community, I don't know, clean for lack of a better word, I guess. And just like, oh, this person was rude to me in a Magic game, so like, I'm going to go cancel them or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for any number of reasons, like if you've been playing Magic for 8 straight hours, it's not unreasonable for you to be grumpy. I'm sorry. Like each one of these people are real human beings. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like, even if it's absolutely true, everything they say is true. He was like being a total jerk to me the whole game or whatever. Like, I get it. Like, conventions are rough, like everything, and we all have bad days. It happens. So like, this is still not, you don't pitchfork somebody over this. Okay. Correct. So then next level is like, whatever, when people want to come out and, are accusing people of, whatever, gatekeeping when they're actually gatekeeping themselves. And all this, like, it's just, I don't know. It seems like every month.
There's always something.
Yeah.
The only parts I really get involved in when it comes to that is when they start, kind of pitchforking against tournament organizers or actual websites when they're like, oh, this person, banned me from their tournament because of some made up reason or whatever. And then I talk to that tournament organizer and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Let me see what happened. And so they'll send me the logs and I'm like, oh, this isn't no reason. You actually just called the tournament organizer a lying bitch and that like all this stuff. You're like, okay, you're going against all the judges' rules. you're making a big scene, and then you're publicly defaming them, saying that they did something that they didn't. In those cases, I'm going to pitchfork against that person. I'm going to spearhead it. I'm like, I don't care. If you're going to make enemies with tournament organizers and try to get their tournament completely shut down, that's where I draw a line. There's a difference between being salty and angry. If you're going to like rope somebody and talk shit, like I get that. But
yeah,
it's when you take it to the next level and actually attacking someone's income. That's when I get way involved.
And that's exactly where I'm at as well. And it's just one of those things where like I think on the whole, like we need to keep like I think it's okay to be exclusive in that way. Like if you can't be a good sport, this is not the game for you. You know, like about half of your games are going to end in defeat. Okay. Like I hate to break it to you, you're not that good. If you look at John Finkel's lifetime stats, like it's better than half, but it's like, you know, not that much better than half. You know what I mean? Because the better you play, the more you have to play against the top players. The more you have to play against the top players, the more you're gonna lose. Like that's just like you gotta learn to get along. And there's just so many people that can't, which you know.
Yeah, it's like somebody in high school and they're carrying their team. They're like scoring 50 points a game. And they're like, yeah, I could be in the NBA. And then they go into the NBA and they just get slaughtered. Absolutely slaughtered. And it's like, I mean, what did you expect? You're going up against the top 200 people on the planet. You're going up against the, you know, top 23,000 in the country.
Exactly.
You're worried about the 200 on the planet. It's a big difference. It's a big difference.
My growing up, I grew up in a very, very small community, like very small. There were 89 kids in my graduating class, and that was my class or my school's name was Whittemore Prescott. So it was literally 2 separate towns they had to put together to get that 89 kids in the graduating class. I'm telling you, it was tiny. And one of the neighboring schools actually had a kid go on to be in the NFL, but he was so good that like he was a linebacker, but it was like, and they really needed something to happen, put in Zettel. Okay, so like, you know, they were like, okay, we're, you know, on the 10-yard line as 3rd down. Give the ball to Zettel. He's literally a defender, but they literally put the linebacker in, give him the ball. Sure enough, touchdown, because they just couldn't stop him. He was that unstoppable. And he goes on, gets drafted in the 4th round, like goes on and plays for the home team. Actually was drafted by,
that's awesome.
I come from Michigan. He was drafted by the Lions. He stayed on the Lions, practice squad things and that sort of thing. Played a few games, actually did really well. And then, you know, moved on for a bit. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. Like played whatever.
Yeah.
Probably 15, 18 games. And I can't tell you how unstoppable the kid was. Absolutely just, you know, a force of nature. And you make it there and it's like, yeah, you're not even, you know, not even 1st, 2nd, not even 3rd round talent, you know? It's like, it's just different, you know?
It's another level. Once you get to that world stage, it's another level. It's the same with streaming. Look at how many streamers there are. And then, like, even if you look at the stats, which I haven't done in a couple days, actually. If you just go and look at the last 24 hours, there was 781,942 individual times somebody clicked that start stream button.
Yeah.
Those aren't necessarily unique people. Somebody, you know, may have done a night stream and then a morning stream. So let's round it down to 600,000.
Exactly.
That's just people who said start streaming. That's a lot of people. And those are who you're competing with.
And when the numbers get that big, it's difficult to grasp. Yes. But like, what, you want to be in the top 5% of 600,000 for yesterday alone?
Yeah.
That is still a ridiculous number of people. Like, you know, like, it's tough.
Yeah.
admittedly, like again on our Twitch, there's so many people that get on there and they just don't have any grasp of reality. I actually was having the same discussion.
I had to get off that subreddit completely.
It can be really frustrating. But literally compiled the table. This was about a month ago. From Sully Gnome at the time, 30-day average, there were 5,034,533 people with 0 to 5 viewers, according to Sully Gnome. And again, this was as of that day, as opposed to as of today. And that was for the past 30 days. Then 131,000 people, 6 to 10 viewers. Understand, at 6 to 10, you are almost certainly not getting a check still. Like you will, like probably ever at that number, ever receiving any money at all. Once you get to the 11 to 25, there were 88,000, which is a significant number still, notably. But like those aren't getting a check every month at 11 to 25 viewers. Then, you go up from 25 to 50 at 34,000 and like that. And it just keeps going down. The numbers are absolutely unreasonable for people that are looking to get started. Like if you are going into this for the money, you are going into it for the wrong reasons. That doesn't mean you can't make any. There are plenty of people who come in and end up making money. But to start out and just be like, oh, I'm gonna be Tom Brady of streaming or whatever, like that's an unrealistic expectation.
See, I almost think of it in the opposite direction that you do. I think at this point it's so popular and so flooded with people. If you come into streaming as a hobby and then also expect to make money eventually, it will never happen. And you're actually lying to yourself when you say, oh, I just started as a hobby. I think most people just say that to try to lessen the blow when they fail. And I know that's going to be a really, really hard thing for anybody to hear, but I think it's all copium. If you don't go into this trying to turn it into a business, it's never going to work, because there's thousands of people that are legitimately putting in their time, the real effort, the real money, trying to make it a job. And those people aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
You doing 5-10 hours a week as a hobby, you're actually ruining it for people who are legitimately trying to do it for a job. You're taking, even if it's just 1 viewer or 2 viewers that you're taking away, if there's 10,000 people doing it, that's 20,000 viewers that you're taking away from streamers who legitimately want to turn it into a job.
Well, and for the record, I do understand that perspective, and I can't muster a powerful argument against it, because I think to a certain extent, at least, you're just right. I would say that I think there are a lot of people who could be really good at streaming if they just had realistic expectations. Yes. There are so many people who probably are in that 21 or 11 to 25 ballpark or whatever, that if they would give just the smallest amount of effort, they would even be good. But they don't want to give that next level. Right? They don't want to actually commit to anything, because I think commitment is scary. And, obviously the fear of failure and all those sorts of things, sure.
Yeah.
But I want to see streaming succeed on a whole, which will mean we'll need top tier talent to show up. So admittedly, Snoop Dogg, maybe not his primary focus in life, but he streams and Kane streams, right? Things like that. Like there is top tier talent on the platform. It's just, I think we're going to need more of it. I think that's one of the encouraging things for me personally, is that I think there needs to be, more waves of talent where people show up, like maybe named Stratterstone, or maybe named JohnLikesGames, that show up and kind of fill out that next echelon of talented creators.
Yeah, it's all about trying to push the envelope or making things change. The thing is, from what I've learned, I think over the last 2 years, brutally, that I don't want to admit to myself, is that I think I tried to change either so many things or do things at a really weird aspect that nobody else was doing, but either too much or too many times back to back to back, that it pushed a lot of people away because they weren't used to that kind of change. Because people still don't like change. But
That's true.
I had a lot of really cool ideas that I was like, I would prefer to watch it this way. I would like this. I would like this. I would like this. But when you do all of that all at once, people just kind of ignore it. Or if
Yeah.
you were doing it the normal cookie cutter way and you were getting and building the audience, and then all of a sudden you change everything and you lose some of the audience because they don't like the change, even if a lot of
Yeah.
people do really love the change, it's still your core part of your 1,000 true fans or whatever. They really like it, but you still lose a lot. And YouTube algorithm is pretty brutal. If you lose a lot of momentum, they're like, we're not touching you. We're not touching you. You did something. We don't know what it is. We don't like it.
Yeah. Well, and for fans of my own personal channel, they will have heard me say this before, but I genuinely believe that in today's society, access to information is not the problem. Like if I told you today that on next year, on this same day, I want you to personally, with your own hands, build me a 1967 GT Shelby Cobra from the ground up, single part at a time. If you do, I will give you $200 million. You would find a way, right? There is information out there. You would, if you fervently wanted it bad enough, you're like $200,000. Yeah, give me, I want that 200. I will do this thing. You can find the information, whatever it is. You want to build a rocket? I don't know, whatever. You can do it, right?
Yeah.
It's what you think you know that limits us. So as you mentioned, all those people that were in your stream when you were doing something, or your YouTube or whatever, when you were doing something wacky and they're like, I don't like this, and they leave, there's a good chance they never come back.
Yeah.
Because they think they know what's going on. So, I mean, the same applies to socioeconomic problems. If I'm like, how do you build a 1967 GT Shelby Cobra or whatever, like from the ground up? There would be a lot of people that give you a vacant stare, wouldn't have any idea where to start. But if you ask that same person, like, how do you fix public education or whatever? Like, they've all got an opinion, and they think they know the answer to all of these problems. And swaying them from those opinions is going to be next to impossible.
Yeah.
So, like you say, when they think they know what's going on your channel, it's hugely detrimental. So for a lot of these smaller creators that come in and they're just picking their nose, staring blankly at the screen while they play video games, you could be a truly, honestly, genuinely entertaining person, but you're not right now. How do you expect us to know that when we pop into your channel and you're just sitting there picking your nose? You know what I mean? Like, that's not a, this person now thinks they know what's going on, even when that's not generally what's happening. So it's another one of the reasons I actually advocate for a lot of particularly newer streamers to not stream in like 8 or 10 hour blocks. It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, you want to stream less, for sure.
Yeah, agreed. And admittedly, you need to stream enough to get momentum, and your numbers are always going to need to be able to reach their peaks and things like that. But being entertaining is more important than anything else in this game, in my opinion. Yeah. And once you've been streaming 9.5 hours and somebody pops in, there's a good chance they will look at you and say, man, this guy is boring. Why? Because you're tired. You just streamed a 9.5 hour block. Yeah. That doesn't say you can't do those things, or if there's something special going on, or there's always exceptions to any rule, but it's tough out there.
Yeah. No, I've definitely realized that recently. There's been times that I get so frustrated, or I get angry, or something ruins my mood in the stream, and it just kind of brings it all down. And for some reason, I don't know what happened in the last, I don't even know when it was, but I used to be able to just not care, and I would just brush things off, and I would still be in a happy-go-lucky mood. Everything was perfectly fine. But now if something like ruins my mood and I'm streaming, it's really hard to get out of that funk sometimes. And I would love to have the option to just go to a different game when that stuff happens, but I don't feel like I'm good enough to go to a different game and just be as entertaining. and stuff like that because I'm either not used to the game in general or I don't know the times that I can talk with stream and not talk with stream. And it's it's really difficult. So there has been times where bad things happen and I'm just like, I'm just going to end the stream because I don't want to make the quality of the stream go down because of it. And I think that's more beneficial than it is hurtful.
I agree. And admittedly, I also think the converse is also true. Like, because just like anything, like I think generally speaking, life is about balance. You need to stay hydrated, but you can drown. So like there's this clever balance you gotta strike that seems obvious, but when you're in the lake and you're in the deep end and maybe you didn't realize how far you got, it's easier to drown than you think.
Yeah.
So the other side of that issue is breaks are addictive. If you just will allow yourself to just take a stream off whenever you feel like it, you're going to feel like taking a stream off a lot because when you get into this game, you're going to have to give effort, right?
Yeah.
So when there are going to be days where you're going to be like, I am not ready. I'm not ready to stream yet. And, but you've got to be like, no, it's time to self-discipline and go.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like you say, I 100% agree with what you're saying earlier with if your mood is going down too low, you're not delivering a quality product.
Yeah.
If you give somebody a t-shirt that is of low quality, they will believe you make crap t-shirts. Exactly. Even if it was just that one, right? They won't buy from you again. It's the same thing with your streaming product. So like you say, you have to balance this because either side is going to ruin you in this game.
Yeah, exactly. But it's hard. It's rough. And I've noticed it a lot more with Magic recently. And I don't know if it was always like that, but I found it more and more difficult to have a good game with Magic. Just like a good game in general. Like even losing's fine. I could lose 100% of my games and it would suck, but I'd probably be fine with like 60%. If I lost 60% of my games, I would be fine as long as they were good games. The thing is that a lot of the wins I've been getting lately are either I'm getting the perfect hand, like an unbeatable hand. There's nothing you can do. Or the opponent gets completely mana screwed and they can't do anything. And especially the complete mana screw, it's their fault for keeping, a potentially horrible hand and just not top decking lands, which is unfortunate. But when a lot of your wins come from that, and then your losses are like either you getting mana screwed or them having the nuts that you just can't beat, or you running into hard counters all that time. I feel like the only good games, whether it's a win or loss, is maybe 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. It's really, I don't know. It's interesting. And I feel like I'm not enjoying it as much because of that. I'm like, I just want a good, challenging game. I want to be able to play against people, but have a good game.
And in an effort to understand, is it possible part of that is self-imposed restrictions with the encore problem? Because I know in my own content, like maybe for those of you who are not familiar with my content and likely are familiar with Strider's, we both have a passion for jank.
Yes.
It's not that Strider and I couldn't pilot a tier 1 deck.
Yeah.
Of course we could. Some of them will even pilot themselves.
Yes.
But like, we could do that thing, but that's not how we want to play the game. We want to engage with the game in wild, crazy, and hopefully fun ways, right?
Yeah.
But I know, at least in my own content, that when the tree was still fresh, so to speak, when the apples had recently fallen to the ground, the pickings were easy because everything was janky as long as it's not tier 1. But when your community has seen, whatever, when they've seen you mill somebody out, or in your case, maybe have seen you land destroy, you've used every single land destruction spell on the client. So how do you achieve that next encore when your community is like, that was awesome, show me another? And you're like, okay, I got you. And now we're 3-4 years deep or whatever, And it's like, that was awesome. Show me another. And we're like, I've used it all.
Yeah.
And now, well, no, okay, so here's this one. And it's bad. Why? Well, because I've avoided using this one.
Because we know it's so
bad. Right? And it's not that I like you. I'm really, yeah. I mean, okay, if I just get my head kicked in all night, it can be a little mood killing. But yeah. I could live at a 40% win rate, and I personally would be fine. I'm having a good time. This is fine.
Yeah, if they're good games, I have no problems losing. But if I'm winning 80% of my games, and it's always because the opponent is getting mana screwed, then I do play a lot of land destruction, obviously. But if they're not top decking any lands, like if they get 3 lands and I blow one up, and then they never top deck any lands, like, and I, starve extinction, right? I get rid of everything on their board except for maybe some enchantments or something. They're down to 2 or 3 lands, but they needed everything else on the board to amplify their hand. And then they just don't draw anything else. It's when one of my spells destroys their entire deck, it's not as rewarding. And I don't know if that's the point of Magic, really. But I feel that it could have been a better game if they were top decking lands, or if they were somehow interacting a little bit more. And same goes like vice versa. If, I'm not getting anything and they have the nut draw and they're comboing you on turn 2 or 3, it's like,
sure.
It wasn't a game, in my opinion. It was just like they comboed. It was a little bit of solitaire. And it's the same with me. If I were to do it, it was just like, okay, well, you did literally nothing. You cast one spell, and then I prevented you from casting anything else that entire game. It just doesn't, or they couldn't even try to cast it. Or it was just, it doesn't feel like a fun game at that point. It makes it really difficult to interact with it. And it's hard to get really excited about winning for me on some of those cases, even though it like should be. Because I see people, like, when they top deck a really good card, they get really excited. And usually I only do that if I'm super far behind and I'm like, this is the only card I can draw that gets me out of the situation. And then if you top deck that, that's when it is. But I feel like other people get that much easier. And I don't know if that's Magic beating me down or if it's something else.
It could be that you're a salty old man. Is that possible?
I'm actually not that salty. I'm salty because I'm not getting any good games. That's what I'm salty about. I'm salty about that.
Yeah, no, seriously though, I kind of understand. And I think, again, at least for me personally, I don't know, obviously I can't speak to yours, but I know for me personally, like, I think I would enjoy maybe these games more if I was playing something else. Like, there was a time when, like, whatever, red black vampires, let's just say, before the most recent set, that was a janky deck, right? It was something no one is playing this, right? No. And probably for good reason, for the record, right? But you build the deck, you get down, you play a little bit, and you have a good time. Yeah. But then once you've built red black vampires, or it's become meta somehow or something like that, like, then you move on and you just don't go back. So I know for me personally, that's the thing I've been struggling with lately, is making sure that I also get what I need from the stream, so to speak. And that's like, I want to play with Shiny Inferno because I love that card. Is it a tier card? No, it's not. But I want to play with it, so I'm going to build some decks with it. Some number of the community will probably complain a little bit, but that's okay because I'm getting what I need right now. This today is for me, Yeah.
Tier 1 Tuesdays or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, see, and that's the thing. I don't even want to play whatever mono red or something. Yeah, that's not. I built my wife mono red. She actually just recently started playing, and she's teaching, or she's learning how to play. She is a salty spike. I mean, just absolutely the saltiest player. But like, she played all this other stuff, and like new player traps and stuff. Like, no, she doesn't care about life gain and a Shiny's Pride Mate or any of that junk. Like, we're talking starter deck mono red, and she's like, this is the one I want to play. I just don't like those other ones. And I'm like, all right, honey, I got you. Amber Queen, Bronze, NX, it's all good, you know?
Yeah, everyone has their poison for sure.
Yeah,
mine was poison. I really liked Infect X. That was my go-to back in the day.
So like modern Infect or like legacy Infect?
No, when it was in Type 2.
Oh,
before standard. Pre-standard when it was Type 2.
Yeah. Well, that's different, you know.
Yeah.
So you're talking not Mirren Crusader, Phyrexian Crusader, and like
I don't remember any of the cards, like at all.
Okay, so are we talking about like
when it first came out?
Or well, because I mean, you say first came out, but there was a poison that didn't have Infect, but there was a poison card in.
It was called Poison. It wasn't called
Mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
was that called? Basilisk? Something. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, when that first started like coming out, that was what I played most. But I was still playing janky stuff. It was still like 100 card decks or something like that. Stuff that made absolutely no sense, but yeah.
Well, when I first started, I was playing in high school in the library, but we were playing like before school, at lunch, stuff like that, you know? And so we played Mana Rush, or is what we called it, where you could play as many lands as you had in your hand at a time.
Huh.
So, and the good thing was it did make the games a lot faster, because back in the day, it used to really, really bog down, you know, when your top end was a Crawl Worm, you know, 6 mana, 6/4 for those.
I remember that. Like, or Leviathan.
And anyone who's involved with Magic theory or whatever, and it might even find this outright comical, but I remember like apologizing to my friend across the table because I had the god hand of literally 6 forests and a Crawl Worm. GG. Like literally scooped on the spot. Like I kid you not, because it was a turn 1 6/4, and they were like, and here's the thing, like nobody put more than 20 lands in their deck. Like I used to win a lot in my friend group at school because I had a rule of thumb, 20 lands. And I'm talking, 6, 7, 8 drops and all that stuff. And I had a rule of thumb, 20 lands. And they used to make fun of me for it. A lot of them were on 16, 18 lands. Some of them even cheat all the way down to 14 lands and then cry and moan about never drawn lands when they're trying to cast their 6 drops on 14 lands. But it was like, you know, we were high school kids, man. We didn't know any better. You know,
didn't know the math. We didn't have like resources like we did today, or if we did, it was all scattered through different forums, or a lot of the pros kept a lot of the information between themselves or by themselves. There wasn't a lot of streams at the time, so unless you went to these big tournaments and really talked with these people, if they were willing to share the information, you just didn't have access to it.
Yeah.
Which sucked, but it was also kind of cool because there was a lot more jank, in my opinion. When you're just going to your LGS, it was a lot more fun, I think, at the LGS, because you would almost never see the same thing unless it was, you know, a try-hard LGS.
Yeah.
So.
Well, admittedly, again, I grew up in a very, very small community, so we didn't have an LGS. The closest local game store was over an hour away.
Jeez, so far away.
Yeah. Which, you know, for, you know, a high school student is just like, you know, that may as well not exist.
Not doable.
You know?
Yeah.
So we would get like, there was a hobby store, they called it, I think, that had comic books and baseball cards and football cards, and they had sealed product there. They didn't sell any singles, weren't interested in selling singles, didn't have anything to do with singles. So to be honest, when I first got playing Magic, this was whatever, 98 or whatever, I didn't even know you could buy singles. That did not even occur to me. It was buy sealed product and trade and whatever, you know, that was, you know, so, you know, but I consider our community quite fortunate for that hobby store, because like we would not have had access because we didn't even have a Walmart or anything at the time. Like it was, you know,
Jesus.
We had the Spartan store. It was like a, I kid you not. It was
a small town.
Well, and for the record, that wasn't my town. That was 25 minutes away. Was the Spartan store? I was 6 miles to the nearest gas station. Like that was.
Did you have a farm and stuff? Or like where? Did you have like a
I
ton of
live
land?
in farms. No, I mean, not my family personally. My dad worked in the oil field, and did, you know,
Oil
so
stuff.
there were oil wells and stuff. But like, the my school was literally nicknamed by our neighboring schools Cow Pie High. I kid you not. This is a real thing. If any of the like, you know, dozens of people who are familiar with my high school can confirm, because it was the largest landowner in Michigan that is a private entity, is Mackinac Land and Cattle, and they, they're just a big cattle ranch, stuff like that. They literally donated the land for my high school. So all around, the high school sits here in the middle of nowhere, and I'm talking, envision the middle of nowhere, no farther. It's farther than that, and it sits here. This all around, three sides of it is all cow pasture, and then the other side of the road is cornfields, which feed the cows.
Yes,
that's where I went to school.
That sounds terrible.
I mean, it was normal at the time. But,
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's normal, it may not. It's one of those things. If it's normal and that's all you know, then it's normal. It's just what you know.
Yep.
But now you're kind of out of that. Are you in a big city now, or are you still in kind of like a rural area? I don't know if you want to dox yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm near Tulsa, Oklahoma, so it's, I wouldn't say that's big.
But you're not in the middle of nowhere anymore.
No, heavens no. And like, I mean, I'm, in a subdivision, and there's like, I drive a quarter of a mile and I'm on a 4-lane highway, and so it's like
nice.
Yeah, it's like, it's a real community as opposed to a loosely contrived like gathering of people.
Yeah. Did everyone know everyone where you lived when you were a kid?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And like, they knew the gossip of everyone and stuff as well. And one of the craziest things is, again, it's, to say it exists is questionable, because the closest town to me when I was growing up, the actual closest town was called Maple Ridge. There were no buildings in Maple Ridge. It used to exist. It's a certified ghost town that is on the ghost registries. It was literally long ago, just the structures all fell down, and there's like a marker. This is where Maple Ridge was. Right? Like, it is what it is. But like, the town almost doesn't exist. Now, Whittemore and Prescott technically do, but they were, it was a post office and a gas station, and a group of homes. That was literally it. There wasn't a stoplight or anything that, it's just, the only reason you would know it's there is the speed limit goes down for a minute and then it goes back up, or whatever sort of thing. But, there was, when I was in my teens, people who were in their 80s. There were the Bergquists and the Carlsons. They were children of two prominent families, the Bergquists and the Carlsons. The Bergquists had 18 kids and the Carlsons had 17 kids. Everyone was related to those two people. Like, everyone. And again, those people had by then had children who had children, because they were in their 80s, that one was, or whatever. Their parents, this was in like 1994 or something. So they would have been born in like 14, that sort of area. And so of course their parents were even older yet than that, and all that. Right. Mm-hmm. So everyone was related. Of course, my family were kind of outsiders. My dad actually grew up in Detroit. So a little bit of culture shock.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, a little different. Your dad's like, we need to get out of here. Let's get as far away as possible.
Well, admittedly, he also kind of got fed up with the city life as well, because as many conveniences and things as there are in city life, and again, that I have come to be reliant upon, there, like all the crime and all that kind of stuff. Like, there was just never any of that. Like, my parents' house growing up, did not lock. The front door literally could not lock. We would leave it open at night to let the breeze blow through. Like, there was never a concern that someone would break in. Like, we had a basement door that was a sliding glass door. Again, didn't lock. It was literally right up next to my house, or my room. I could have snuck out any night. I didn't, because there was nowhere to go. No one to see. What am I going to do? Walk 15 miles to see my friend or something?
Yeah, because if somebody had a car, it would be blatantly obvious, because it would be the only lights, I would assume, that are out at 100%. That time.
Yeah, 100%.
The only sound outside of other things.
Yeah,
everyone would know who it is. Everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's like, it's deathly silent at night. You'll hear like animals and stuff. But no, if someone pulls into your driveway, everyone wakes up, because like, you're just accustomed to, and it's not even about, oh, I'm a heavy sleeper. You're a heavy sleeper because you're conditioned that way. Like, your survival reflexes go on alert when something truly abnormal happens. Mm-hmm. Someone driving, when you're that far out there, that your survival instincts go off. There's something wrong. You don't get here unless you mean to be here.
Exactly. That's out of the normal. Wait, so did you have any crazy Texas Chainsaw Massacre action going on?
Oh, heavens no. Like I say, I mean, honestly, like,
that's what somebody who did have it going on would say. I don't know if I can trust you now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just one of those things, like, it's easy to meme on because the script writes itself. But honestly, it's just, more than anything, it's boring. Like, there's very literally, as opposed to figuratively, nothing to do. I spent a lot of time when I was a child playing by myself, and viewers of my stream will, I've told the story before. Like, I didn't have a television in my house till I was 5. Well, why? Why
are you gonna
have
watch?
One?
Yeah.
It's like, you're so far out there. There aren't local channels or anything. Like, you can't, there's still nothing. There's certainly no cable. Are you kidding me? Like, when I was young, when we first got a telephone, and let me repeat that back. When we first got a telephone, it was a party line. So we couldn't use the phone when the neighbors were using the phone. The neighbors who were like a quarter mile away. So it's like,
that's another level. I mean, I can't even imagine that. Wait, so what got you to really want to be an entertainer then? Was that after you moved away, or was it like, and I need to get out of this place, and I had no entertainment growing up, so I want to be that entertainment for other people?
Honestly, I don't really know, but I can tell you, for as long as I've been alive, that was my goal. When I was younger, of course, I wanted to like sing or like be an actor or something like that, because again, I had relatives who lived in more populated areas. To say that they lived in the city would convey a different impression than reality would dictate. But they lived where other people were, and so they had cable and that sort of thing. And like, I will never forget the first time I watched Star Wars as a young wee lad. Whatever. This was not long after we had a television with, again, like 2 channels, CBS and NBC, occasionally PBS. PBS and CBS, and then occasionally NBC. And like, that sparked it for me. Like, I need to do this. I want to do this in my life. And of course, but again.
So did you want to do it before you saw that, or was it just kind of playing with the idea and then you saw it and you're like, this is what I want to do?
When I was younger, I wanted to sing. And admittedly, that dream didn't die until I discovered I'm not nearly as gifted as I thought I was at singing.
Auto-tune, man. Auto-tune, baby.
I didn't exist when I first was coming out of high school and making
Bring
these discoveries.
Bring it back.
Okay. But like, so as far as wanting to be an actor, I think that was just kind of a part of the same thing in my head. Like, I wanted to tell stories and I wanted people to listen. I wanted to sing and wanted people to listen or whatever. Like, I wanted to entertain. I wanted to do something people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Which,
Exactly.
was not an attainable goal where I grew up. There weren't even people.
There weren't enough people to entertain. Well, did you,
Yeah.
was there acting classes and singing classes that you were taking, or what exactly were you doing? I don't know if this is cutting
Well,
too deep, because you said you don't exactly know, and that's really interesting to me.
well, I mean, we went to church. Like, it was the only gathering, so I would
Yeah.
like sing at church or whatever. But again, that was the only time like you would interact with people, church and school or work or whatever like that. It wasn't. I didn't go and stay at friend's house. Like, that whole thing totally lost on me
Yeah.
because it was completely impractical when your friends live, not figuratively, but literally like 20 minutes away or something, that go to your school just because they're on the other side of the bus route. Our bus route was like 3 hours just to and from school. So because they would have to drive so far between students, it was ludicrous. Looking back now, I still don't understand how they logistically made that work. But whatever, they did.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Yeah, so for the actual acting class and stuff, we did have theater, and I was a theater kid. It was small.
Quick question on the theater kid thing. Wait, how old were you when you were in theater class?
I mean, high school.
High school? Okay. So
it didn't exist for
from
kids.
my experience with theater kids, I wasn't in theater because initially I thought theater was like lame.
Sure.
But from everything I've experienced with theater kids after high school, the stories I hear from them was that it was almost basically an orgy, to put it like there was a lot of sex in between everybody that was there. Is that the same in your town?
Maybe I wasn't involved because again, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm autistic or something. I just didn't get social cues, particularly not from women. I have a lot of embarrassing stories on that because I was completely sold on the idea that I was very homely and was probably going to die alone. And women trying to disabuse me of that, I just didn't pick up on those social cues that apparently everyone else did. But
if you're not used to them, you're not used to them. It's hard when people aren't upfront with that stuff sometimes. But that's why you have to tell them to be upfront at times.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's that's eventually what had to happen. So my like second most serious girlfriend ever is actually not my wife. We've been married 20 years. We've actually just recently had our 20th anniversary.
Wait, so how old are you? You're like 35 now then?
38.
38.
Yep.
30.
I'll be 39 in February.
So you're high school sweethearts then, right?
I mean,
yeah, that's how that works.
After a fashion, we lived 150 miles away. It was a 3-hour drive to see each other, like a lot of the time, like because it was all back roads and stuff.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But that works.
It did.
That'll build a relationship. You drove 3 hours to see me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 3 hours, more like, whatever, 2 hours and change or whatever.
1 hour to see me. That shows dedication. It's like, that means something. That does mean something.
And it did.
Regardless. Yeah. Clearly paid off.
It did. And like I say, literally 20 years of marriage. So,
yeah. And you both seem really happy still. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I think to a certain extent, happiness is, I don't know. If I say this, there's going to be a bunch of people misinterpret it, but I'm going to say it anyway because, darn it, this is Sodium City, so I shouldn't have to censor myself, right? But like, I think happiness, for the most part, is a choice. So you get to decide, am I going to do things that lead towards happiness? And if you fill out enough of those things, if you check enough boxes, you can decide today's a good day to be happy, right? Now, there are chemical imbalances and all kinds of things that are, there are always exceptions.
There's always exceptions, yeah.
But like, obviously, at some point along the way, I finally started picking up on some social cues and realized that, darn it, maybe I had other options and all that stuff, But so I,
Yeah.
there have been women offer me casual sex and all that kind of stuff, like since I've been married. But that's
Yeah,
and
of
I
course.
could have had that opportunity, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, if I do that, that will not lead to long-term happiness, right? So making the choice to
Depending.
stay faithful to my wife is, a choice that will lead to happiness or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that will definitely lead to happiness, unless it's like,
Yeah.
unless you have an open relationship, of course. Then
Sure.
then
Which,
it's
again,
different. Which I don't know if you have, but
and I don't judge anyone for any of that. But
yeah,
trust me when I say that my wife is not open to that in any way, shape, or form.
yes, most people aren't, and I would never, as cool as it sounds, I guess I would not recommend it for a 99.999% of people. You think you can handle it until it happens, and then you can't handle it. It's just not.
Right.
It just doesn't work. It doesn't work for most people. It just doesn't. Your relationship completely changes. Something happens. It's either dynamic between one person or the other person. There's always something that happens. But if you set the rules, you set the boundaries, which is what you should do regardless of a relationship. Every relationship,
100%.
you need to be able to have that conversation of boundaries in general. It's like if you cannot set boundaries, whatever relationship you have, whether it's a friendship, relationship, whatever, it's not going to work. It's just it's not going to work. You have to be able to say it. You can't do these subtle hints and stuff like that, because people can't always read your hints, or they may interpret them incorrectly, or they may just not pick up on them at all, kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, and for the record, again, I agree with all those things. And for what it's worth, that was just, kind of an example. But there are other examples too, like, exercise. Most people do not enjoy exercise, yours truly included, right? But if you engage in it, right, your body will release endorphins, and it will make you, it can lead to happiness long term. You will also be happier with the way you look, all that sort of thing. But I don't like to exercise. Give yourself a chance. Choose happiness long term. Don't choose like short term. I'm happy with where I'm at right now. If I'm happy with where I'm at right now, it's a bag of Doritos on the couch, right? I don't need to do anything to be happy right now. But that will not lead to long-term happiness. So choose to do the thing that's going to lead to long-term happiness. So in this case, I mean, I did not achieve success on Twitch overnight. I'm not confident I'm there yet. Like as far as where I want to be, I'm certainly not.
Wait, so how do you define success on Twitch, or where would you classify yourself? Because right now you said you're not sure if you would say that. What would be the point that you'd say I am successful? At what point are you confident to say I am successful in this industry? Not necessarily only on Twitch, but in the industry as a whole.
Well, and I want to preface this with I think everyone should draw their own lines. So I'm going to give you mine.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time people in this industry do wait for someone else to draw the line, because that's what you're taught in school. Ask for permission to go to the bathroom, do all this stuff, right? No, don't wait for anybody else. Draw your own lines, make your own decisions about where success is. Because honestly, right now, I mean, whatever, according to Twitch Tracker, like the top 0.24% or something. So a lot of people would look at that and say, you're inside the top 1%, you're successful. But for me, that's not really where I'm at yet, because I'm not making enough money, and I'm not a greedy person. I grew up without, I'm sure, given you heard the backstory, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of opportunity there. Nobody was making a lot of money. We were all poor, whatever. I don't care. I'm not materialistic. That does not bother me. But my line for success would be at
don't where believe I'm him. He wears suits all the time. He's lying. It's all Prada and Gucci.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it started as Goodwill. It's Gucci now.
Yeah.
But like, when I can say the stream is bringing in, or content creation is bringing in enough money to comfortably support my family on its own, I will be successful.
Yeah,
I would say the same about any job. I am not the elitist sort, so for me to be like, oh, you're a janitor, you're not successful. No, like, I guarantee you, janitors in the right place are making way more money than I am, and probably more than the two of us. If you're in the right place, so you can be a successful janitor. Are you supporting yourself? No. Well, okay, maybe you need to reevaluate, at least in my opinion, right? So in this arena, as with any, I feel like I've got to hold this to that same standard because that's where I want to go with this. If this was truly a hobby, then yeah, I mean, sure, I'm successful already. I don't, put it on autopilot or whatever. I don't feel I'm there yet,
So what happens when you can provide for your family? When are you, and you declare yourself as successful? What happens at that point?
Well, it just depends on the context, because for the most part, it's going to depend on whether or not I've been able to achieve that in Magic, for one, first of all, because if the content creation takes a turn, I had chess.com reach out to me and they want me to do streams with them and stuff like that. I have never had communications with WotC, much. I can't even get a preview card. You know what I mean? Like they won't, they refuse to acknowledge that I exist, but yet chess.com,
it's out of control.
They have literal millions of users all the time and they're reaching out to me or whatever. So like, as if the game can always change, as long as I'm entertainment, I'll be happy. But I don't want to say that anything would change because then I would just be happy, right? I want to be successful in this arena. I'll be doing that. If things were to go off the rails and be successful, like truly, making it happen, whatever, like $300,000 a year or whatever, then I do have plans.
You're talking successful.
Well, I mean, if it went that far, I'm just saying, like, there's a difference between like, oh, you're making $60,000 a year, which is fine, sustainable money, right? Yeah. And then that's fine. I would consider myself successful at that point, but I don't think I would change that much if it went up to the next level where it's like, going crazy. I actually want to eventually move off grid, which, is difficult in this line of work, but.
So like no credit cards, no third-party electricity.
No. See,
completely off grid.
Not completely off grid, but more like just like.
So you did some Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff. I knew it. I knew it.
When you make that kind of money, like. No, like I mean, but to be entirely self-sufficient. Like my wife and I have 1 acre of land here. Less than that actually, about whatever. But we have 19 fruit and nut trees in our backyard. Like that's and a garden and stuff like that. Like I would like to do more of that. Like the idea of just being able to support myself and not depend on anyone else is like super, super appealing to me personally.
Of course.
And like also, like whatever, doing what's right for the planet and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But like depending on no one else. Like having no other irons in the fire. So again, if I was doing this so successfully that I was able to achieve that dream, I would of course continue to do this. So I would have the internet. I would still have, access to whatever, but it would just be, whatever. But
interesting.
Yeah. So instead of, currently I have no freedom. I get that a lot. I'm not, There's a lot of book to read. I'm just saying.
There is. I don't know how to digest that yet. Hold on.
Well, part of it honestly does come from my roots, I think.
Yeah.
Because again, as much as having been through the real struggles of, even getting to the grocery store is a major undertaking. There were a lot of complications, but I can also tell you there was just an abundance of freedom where you just, again, you're beholden to no one. You are the epitome of boss. There is no grind. There is no, whatever. It's freaking.
Okay, so hold on. Do you say epitome as a meme?
Yes.
Just to mess with people? Okay.
100%.
Okay, I do that all the time too. Just making sure.
It drives people crazy.
Yes, absolutely.
It lights up my own life.
I love it. I know. It's one of those things that make you happier.
Exactly.
It's like
lead to long-term happiness.
Yeah, when I recently did a deck that used Avakian, and I swear that I angered so many people. So many people were mad about that because it's Avacyn.
Sure.
They're like, Avakian, it's pronounced opposite. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's clearly spelled Avakian. I don't know what you're talking about. People were not happy about it.
Yeah, I feel the same way about dad jokes and stuff. Yeah,
that's right.
But
all your redeemed dad jokes.
Yep,
some of those are great. So do you have a book with that?
I do research and stuff typically. It's difficult because like I have bought a book and it's like a lot of them are the same ones you've already, they you've already told or whatever, right? So you've got to be, I swear, I spent quite a bit of time on Reddit's dad jokes thing, right? But I swear a lot of them just buy a book
and then post
and put it on Reddit to get fake internet points.
Yeah, of course.
I have never understood that culture. Like that to me blows my mind. One of these arrows is purple and it goes down, and that's bad. The other one is yellow or orange and it goes up, and that's good. And this is a primary motivating factor in some people's lives, so much so that they will farm clouds.
They farm it, which is so bizarre to me.
Agreed.
I kind of feel bad for people who are slaves to those metrics. Which is, I think, why a lot of people don't look at the metrics and they have other people look at the metrics. The people who have their active viewership hidden when they're streaming, or they never look at their viewership and they tell people not to tell them how many viewers they have because they say that it'll mess with how they interact with the stream. They want to make sure that they put on the same show that they would for one person as they would for 1 million people. And knowing the viewership could impact that in some way. I don't think I've ever had that particular problem.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have that problem, so I just have it hidden anyway.
See, I'm the other way. And I respect, first of all, that opinion for sure. Because for some people that can be a hugely motivating factor, but for me it's the other way. So like I genuinely believe that every one of my viewers is real. If you've purchased bots for my channel, I appreciate you. But I'm going to go on believing that all those, I'm just kidding, that all those, each individual one of those, 100 and whatever people is a real individual human being with real wants, real needs, real desires. They could be anywhere. They chose my stream.
Yeah.
So they're here.
Yeah.
I don't care if I've got 10 or 200. These people chose me. I'm going to give my best show. Yeah. So for me, when numbers dip, I get more motivated because and it drives me. It puts a fire in me because it's like, no, all the other people chose someone else today. These people chose me.
Yeah.
Today. So I might average 120 or 130 or whatever the heck, right? And I'm having a down night and it's like 60 or 70 people or something. Yeah, but these are 60 or 70 of my real fans. They chose me over anybody else. All these other people went somewhere else. These people chose me. That's motivating to me. So I'm like, I'm bringing a game today. So when I see those numbers like that drives me. So for me to hide the numbers, I feel like is like handicapping me. I recognize I'm also probably dysfunctional in some way, but
not necessarily. It's interesting because if people show up on your days that you have less streams and you put on I don't want to say a better show, and then they come back on a day where you have like 200 viewers, and they're like, oh, something crazy must be happening, and then you're not putting as much effort. I'm not saying this is what happens, but that's what it makes it sound like. You're not putting as much effort. They're like, oh, what happened? And they may not unfollow the stream or whatever, but if it happens a couple times, I don't know if that will change, or I don't know if they've already established a connection with you to where it's fine. That's really, really interesting. But I think the biggest problem that a lot of people have is that sometimes if a lot of the numbers go down, all of a sudden they automatically think that it's them, when it could just be another streamer came online or something else happened. It could be many, many different things. It can definitely be you, but there could be some big event going on. It could be somebody, there's a big Rust tournament going on right now with a ton of big streamers. So a lot of people's average viewership is a little bit lower just because a lot of people are watching those big streamers play Rust and stuff like that. Or then there's another huge event. You may just naturally have less viewers on that day, and you're like, what happened? What did I do the previous day to make people angry at me? Or something like that.
Yeah.
So you may be looking into some weird rabbit hole, but you're not looking at the right thing. And that's always why I tell people when they're looking at stats, do it like 180 days about, so that you know what your stats are. Be like, okay, this is what happened this 180 days, and this is what happened, compared to the 180 days prior.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and for the record, I think that's very, very healthy. Mm-hmm. I also think that, you need to be able to look at your numbers objectively.
Yes.
Like, this is important. Do people want the kind of content that I'm providing right now? If the answer is no, okay, well, maybe you can adapt. Maybe you can't. Maybe you just need to find another space.
Yes.
Like if Magic isn't for you, like Legends of Runeterra exists. Like maybe that's for you or whatever. Like, you need to find what you can do and do it well or whatever, right? But you also need to recognize that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Definitely. There's a good chunk of people who will just hit the ground running, and it turns out, they've got what it takes, and they just go off. Okay, that wasn't me. That. Yeah, I consider myself a working class streamer. Every viewer that showed up, I've done my best to treat them like a real person.
Yeah,
and I think that's paid dividends. I think most people can do what I do if they're willing to commit. Because I do think I'm relatively handsome, but I think most of it's the suit. You see me in my t-shirt and jeans, you're like, yeah, you're pretty average.
Yeah, but a lot of it is just people see you as put together at that point. If you're put together, people are naturally attracted to you.
Exactly. So if you're willing to give a lot, right? Then most people can do this thing if they have to find their own viewers. But we were talking about that earlier, right? You have to be able to, do that.
It seems like one of the things that anyone can do it, but not everyone can do it.
Yes,
that makes sense. Yeah,
agreed.
Because you can do it if you really put in all the time and effort. Because it's not really that difficult per se. Yeah. But you have to know, and you have to be able to. You have to do everything that you need to do. That's the hard part. People don't realize how much work it actually is.
Oh man. Oh yeah. All the time you get people. I just last night was actually doing an interview not last night, night before last. I was doing an interview for our day job, where again we're doing child care or whatever. And apparently they knew somebody who was a part of the thing. Or we had cared for the children earlier, and they told him, oh yeah, he streams and all that kind of stuff. He's like, oh my gosh, you're living the dream. You're doing exactly what I want to do. And I'm like, I doubt it.
No.
I think you actually want what I have.
When you're working 12, 13, 14, 15, 18-hour days every single day.
Yeah.
It's like, it can get brutal. Because you have to put in your day job hours, and then you have to put in the YouTube hours, and you have to put in the social media hours. You do other recording. Depending on what you do, you have to, talk with sponsors. You have to prepare for either meetings or interviews, podcasts, or, prep for tournaments that you're putting on and stuff like that. But real quick, we had two things that we were going to talk about. I guess one thing. But you said you were VIPing at Magic Summit. I don't know what that means. You said you were going to Magic Summit, but what is VIPing at Magic? Are people going to pay there to just see you? Because you're just going to sit there like, I have a huge dick. Come look at me. VIP.
Maybe. We'll see.
That makes sense.
So Magic Summit they're kind of both trying to go back to the roots of Magic and kind of expand upon the thing, right? Where it's actually free to get in the door.
Is it?
If you want to do anything.
Is it actually done by Summit? Not the streamer, but beyond the Summit?
I don't know. I am not, maybe. It's from Kingdoms, but I don't know if they're affiliated in any way. Like, that's, I'm not.
Black Girl Magic Digital Summit.
Yep. I mean, it's mtgsummit.com if you wanted to look at their promotional stuff or whatever, right? But it's kind of a crazy thing. Like Brandon Sanderson's going to be there, like huge fantasy author. If anyone's listened to or read the books in like the Stormlight Archive or Mistborn, and he even completed Robert Jordan's work in the Wheel of Time and stuff. Very, very notable. He's headlining along with John Finkel, greatest Magic player ever, Luis Scott Vargas, MTG Nerd Girl, Reed Duke, Pleasant Kenobi,
some big people.
Talia Vance, JohnLikesGames, right there. So I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool because they are similar to Magic 30. They do have a bunch of different packages where you can go and like you get to do different things based on that. And of course, again, they have artists there and stuff as well, like Steve Argyle, Dan Frazier, if that's the sort of thing that you got, excites you or whatever. But you can go and they can get your own VIP badge and go in there and do all the stuff and hang out with the big names, I guess. JohnLikesGames among them, I guess. I'm sure.
So is there just a VIP lounge that you're forced to stay in for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, there's some of that, and like
so
there's going to be
working, but not really.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going as a work trip, no doubt. Like this is not. If I had to just have a good time, I would not choose a convention, right? I'm not gonna sign up and just like that's not my thing. Mm-hmm. I will go and hang out with my people. If my viewers are like, "Hey, we're going to the movies," I would go with my viewers,
right?
Like my people. Right.
Real.
If my viewers are like, let's meet up at a convention, I'm like, all right, I'm going to put my work hat on and go do a work thing, So that's kind of what I'm doing here. But for the record, we're going to do games with the content creators and stuff like that. So I'm going to be sitting down and playing against, any viewers and things that want to come and play and, some Commander and stuff. But there's all kinds of events. There's I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure in the main event, you can actually win a Black Lotus. And like, then there's this Brandon Sanderson, of course, is a fan noted, possibly the biggest name in fantasy writing, but is also a huge Magic nerd and has his own vintage cube that he's crafted. Oh. And Sanderson, LSV, Reed Duke, and John Finkel are going to sit down with 4 people that get randomly drawn. You might even have to be a VIP or whatever, have purchased the biggest package or whatever to get drawn. But then you're going to draft that vintage cube with these really, really big name players.
Not even big name players, some of the best players.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's got to be so intimidating. I'd be like...
But it would be a once in a lifetime thing. Like you draft abysmally, go 03. No one cares, right? Like of course you went.
You still have the experience of I got to draft with these people.
Right. Like, but what happens if you win?
Don't have that. I don't know what happens when you win.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You get stuff.
Oh, I thought you had an answer. You get the Black Lotus. I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy. You have to beat all 4 of these people. That's okay.
There are rewards, but I'm just saying, like, you also get that feeling for the rest of your life, like where, you went 2-1 and John Finkel won. Of course he did, but I went 2-1 in the draft pod with John Finkel and LSV and whatever, like that would be
that's a thing,
just an unmatched experience. So like I say, I really respect what they're doing up there, and that I'm super honored that they chose to have me be part of the representation and stuff. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how MTG Nerd Girl is getting so many people involved. I feel like she is turning into the marketing representation for WotC.
100%. Because it was definitely Nerd Girl who was able to get in. I'm 100% certain of that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't because your own doing, but when it comes to big names, you have, like I said, Finkel, LSV, stuff like that. I don't necessarily, this sounds mean, but I don't necessarily think JohnLikesGames when I'm putting all those people in the group.
Are you kidding me right now.
I know.
No, yeah,
I love you. I love you, but you know exactly what I mean. You know exactly what I
know
mean.
exactly what you mean.
However,
but
if it was out of those people who I actually legitimately wanted to meet, you would be the only one in that list that I would actually want to meet. And if anybody was in a vintage cube and you weren't in it, I wouldn't even participate. I'd be like, I'd rather hang out with John. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
And that's I don't know. I don't know if that means anything, but that's just
it does.
the honest opinion of you just seem like a really good choice for people to just come out, talk with you and meet you. I think you're just a good representation for the community. And I think that's probably why I push you a lot. Or a lot. Well, not like I push people over to you a lot. Like I'm like, hey, you got to check out John. Like I'm not pushing you because I don't talk to you all that much. But every time you come up, like when somebody redeems a clip of whatever, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, by the way. Hey, it's very flattering. The most flattering choice.
I thought it was a good choice. Although people are redeeming it less, so I'm gonna have to get a better clip. I think.
Yeah. So maybe
if you have a really funny word or something that you're saying, I need one of you swearing. That's what I need next.
I've had 2 different occasions where people thought I swore.
Yes, I remember that.
No, you 100% swore, and then they go back in the VOD and discover that I didn't. I just apparently mumble or something. I don't know, but you know, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think I've ever sworn on stream before.
Yeah,
like I'm not of the crowd that's like, whatever, this is morally wrong or something because your vocal cords make some kind of different vibration. It's like, oh no, what have you done? Like, I'm not of that, but it's just one of those things. It's part of the, part of the stuff,
Yeah. It's good for the YouTube algorithm.
I mean, supposedly, I don't know. The YouTube algorithm does not care for me.
Oh, yeah. Which is kind of sad.
Yeah. But, oh well.
Yeah. I think we're over our time now, so we should probably.
I believe so. By probably a lot.
Sir Ride's gonna be so mad at me.
I'm sorry,
I was like, all right, well, we're restricted to an hour, and it's an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Certified. That's my fault.
We'll figure it out. It's fine. All right, but yeah, why don't you once again let everyone know how to get a hold of you?
Well, by far, the most common place you'll find me is on Twitch. I stream Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 5 hours a night. So you can catch me in the evenings in North American time, and at twitch.tv/JohnLikesGames, all one word. And then on YouTube, if you search for John Likes Games, you will also find me there at youtube.com/JohnLikesGames. Then on Twitter, I'm actually John Likes Games 2. Because apparently there's some other John out there who really likes games, does not like Twitter, notably, because they haven't used Twitter since 2013. But,
why not John Likes 2 Games?
No. I mean, admittedly, I do. But, I primarily play one. But,
John likes at least 2 games.
Right.
All the links to John's stuff will be in the description below, by the way. So whether you're on whatever major podcast platform, we're actually on every podcast platform. So if you are more in a podcast, you can always do that. But video form is obviously still on YouTube. Yeah, if you want to go by faster, obviously you can 2 times speed it. Although at the end of the podcast, it doesn't really help to know that now.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Make sure to check them out at the Magic Summit on November 13th or 11th to the 13th.
Yes, that's correct.
Salt Lake City.
In Salt Lake City.
That'll be interesting. That's right around the corner from me. Kind of.
Yeah.
It's like 4 hours away. 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that.
So you're going to be in attendance, right?
Probably not. I don't know. I'm like you. If I'm gonna have fun, it's definitely not gonna be at a Magic. Once I see an enjoyable looking Magic tournament, maybe 2 enjoyable looking Magic convention. I just need to see a couple because I've been to a lot. I've been to a lot of Magic tournaments. I've been to some Magic conventions in my life. I've been playing since like '98, like you. I've never been to one that's like comparable to any other kind of convention. Like, you go to BlizzCon, you go to Comic-Con, you go to AX, you go to, or Anime Expo, you go to Evo. It doesn't matter if it's like video game tournaments, like even like League of Legends Worlds was more fun than any other Magic tournament or convention that I've ever been to. But there's just so many other things to do there than just play Magic or just look at Magic. And that's what I think encompasses a good convention. But
Yeah.
I think they're just so stuck in their ways still from like the 90s, because that's how it used to be. It's just evolved a whole bunch. And it doesn't seem like they've adjusted yet. I don't know if they ever will. So
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll see, right?
yeah. Once I see a couple good ones, then I'll probably go to them because I enjoy conventions.
Sure.
But I just need a good one if I'm going to invest a lot of money to go to them.
That's fair. And this one, if you want the VIP, like they have, whatever, like the VIP room does look really cool. Like, there's going to be pool and whatever, ping pong and stuff that you could theoretically be playing with Reed Duke or whatever, that sort of thing. So it's interesting. Like, we'll see how it goes, but I agree. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I hope it is. TwitchCon should be fun too. We got to hang out on TwitchCon at some point.
We definitely have to hang out at TwitchCon.
Yeah.
I don't
have to
know.
actually leave. I'm going to be at the convention on Saturday.
Oh.
And that's it.
That's it? Why?
Yeah. On Friday, we're doing mostly settling down into the Airbnb. But we'll also be doing I'll probably just be setting up the stream, to be honest. And then we may just like hang out, go get dinner, stuff like that. Maybe meet up with some people. Then Saturday, it'll be all day at the convention for all of us. And then Sunday is like 100% IRL stream from like wake up to, going to bed. It's all going to be IRL stream. We're going to be doing cooking streams. We have like hot tub streams. We're going to do an unset draft, just a bunch of IRL stuff. So
that's awesome.
And we're just
that is crazy.
That whole thing. And there's just a bunch of us involved. Like Ollie's going to come through. Beer to Beer Time's going to come through. I don't know. We have a bunch of streamers that are just going to stop by. So, yeah, it's probably a little bit too degenerate for you, but we'll hang out at some other place. You don't want to be seen there with us.
Fair enough. We'll see. We'll see.
It's California, so it's gonna be a little bit crazy, but it'll be fun. We thought about doing the unset draft on Friday night, so we may do that. So I don't know what you're doing Friday night, but we may do that. And that'll be off stream. So
I don't either. I don't plan anything in my life.
We had to plan this. If it's going to be something big like that, and we have a lot of people involved, we had to plan something.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's it's good. I like when things get planned, but I don't do it. My wife handles all of that. So no doubt, she's already got everything of my life scheduled. But like, I don't know what that means.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Have your people talk to my people.
I will do that. It'll be a great time. I'm confident.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. And again, this is the Sodium City Town Hall here with JohnLikesGames. And that's it.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to this point, it means you either really enjoyed the video or you fell asleep and I'm waking you up now. Either way, thank you for all the support. I really do appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, come out with videos 7 days a week.